Hey you guys, welcome back to Life After Neverland. If this is your first time tuning in, today we're going to be talking about Supernatural, Season 15, Episode 4, and it's called Atomic Monsters. But before we get started with that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my husband. We used to work at Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland. We're former entertainers. I guess if your children are watching, have them cover their ears and only you tune in. But we used to be Peter Pan and Wendy, Mad Hatter and Alice in Wonderland, and I used to do Tinkerbell as well. So hopefully you guys will enjoy watching us, seeing what our life is like as we are adulting, growing up, if you will. So please hit the subscribe. We'd love it if you would hit the like button and share this information with your friends. Tell them where we're at and ask them to come join us as well. We love to talk about The Masked Singer. We love to talk about The Walking Dead. We love to pull shenanigans and all that good stuff. So, we also like to adventure off into the world and share that adventure with you. So, we are currently talking about my favorite TV show, Supernatural, and my favorite dude, besides my husband, of course, Dean Winchester. And this episode was actually directed by Jensen. So I thought it was great. I really liked Weekend at Bobby's, so it's a little bit hard for, I think, Jensen to, I don't want to say, he outdid himself with that one. And so that one's still my number one favorite. How about you guys? Did you like this one better than Weekend at Bobby's, which he also directed, or do you like Weekend at Bobby's more? I have a big, place in my heart for Bobby, the character Bobby. I love him, and delving into his character was fun, and the way Jensen went about it was really cool. So if you haven't seen that episode, make sure you go back on Netflix and check it out. Alright, well, let's go into this episode. So it starts off really, really intense. Jared is apparently having a dream sequence, so I'm definitely spoiling that for you. But in this dream sequence, you see Dean being extremely BA. It's like a Gods of War or Call of Duty moment. I mean, it's really action-packed. I mean, he is just busting a cap in everyone's A. And he's got this really awesome beard looking super adorable while he's kicking everyone's butt. I loved it. But then we see Benny. Now, where'd Benny come from? Benny's just out of the blue. I mean, last thing I knew, Benny was long gone. So that's interesting. And then all of a sudden, Dean comes into contact with Sam. And Sam is a demon. He's been drinking demon blood apparently, and he is super amped up, super strong, to the point where he literally turned his head and the guy behind him, he sensed him, and he broke his neck and down on the ground. I mean, Sam didn't have to do anything. He just sensed him, thought, you know what, I'm gonna break your neck right now, turned his head, boom, dead. And then, worse yet, he does the same thing to Dean. Does the same thing to Dean. What a shocker, And right before that, Dean was saying what you did to Bobby and what you did to Jody. So obviously this was, like I said before, a dream. And is this a psychic moment that's coming from Sam? A foreshadowing into what's going to happen in the future? I can't help but think that it is. And I'm going to move on and tell you more about this episode. We can talk about it. We can discuss. I would like for some of this to kind of go down because it makes the show more interesting, it makes the show more intense, and it gets me excited. Of course, I don't want anything bad to happen to Sam and Dean. I can't imagine that they would end the season doing something like that. That would be absolutely horrendous. But I do want things to get intense. I do want to be on the edge of my seat. I cannot say that enough. All right, let's get going. Okay, so now basically you see this cute little moment where after Sam has woken up, he's a little bit disheveled after having such an intense dream, especially, when you wake up. Have you ever had dreams like that where one of your family members passed away? Ugh, you just can't shake it. So he sits down, and Dean's in his typical goofy mood, and he's eating so-called vegetarian-style bacon. And he ends up tricking Sam into eating the bacon because apparently Sam's a vegetarian, maybe, I'm assuming. And he's calling himself the meat man. I don't know, it's just a funny little Dean-ism in my eyes, and I loved it. I love it when Dean has those little moments that are kind of quirky. I love Dean. Sometimes he gets me a little bit irritated, like sending off Castiel. I really wanted to see Castiel in this episode. I want to see Castiel, like I said before in my last episode. I always want to see Castiel, and he wasn't there, and it just felt sad to me. So moving forward, Sam and Dean end up going to Beaverdale, Iowa, They always go to Iowa, and I don't hate that, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm from Iowa. But they say all the crazy stuff seems to be happening in Iowa. Interesting. Why can't I meet Sam and Dean in Iowa? So in Iowa, they have a cheerleader named Susie who has been brutally murdered. And Sam and Dean end up meeting up with, I'm apparently thinking it's the principal, and this lady, Nancy and Henry, show up, and they are all entitled. They have no concern for Susie's well-being whatsoever. All they care about is their son, Billy, and whatever. Acting like typical entitled parents that want to be pushy and annoying. So then you meet up with Billy later, and another cheerleader and or friend of Susie's, and her name is Veronica. And she's trying to take a little bit of an interest in Billy. Maybe she had an interest in Billy from the beginning. Who knows? Not a very good friend. But Veronica gives this really cheesy speech. She's practicing it in the auditorium, and Dean comes in. Like, I'm literally thinking, like, this is the dumbest speech ever. It's so cheesy and so not genuine. And Dean comes in and he's like, and he wants to ream her a new one. Ultimately to find out, after he has discovered that the killer is a vampire. So they look at her teeth and realize that she has braces. So it definitely can't be her. Seems like a good candidate. Totally fake, totally phony. Could be jealous. She wants that girl's boyfriend. Not the case. Because she has braces. She can't be having those vampire teeth. Okay. Lo and behold, we see Becky. Becky is brought back for this episode, and she looks great. She reminds me of Sarah Michelle Gellar. She looks just like her. She's got a husband, she's got kids, her life is great. She sends her kids off and her husband off to a camping or a fishing trip, and as they're driving off, stalker Chuck is standing right there. So unfortunately, she invites him into her house. He gives Becky his little sob story about, woe is me, poor me, blah, 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 blah. And Becky gives him a pep talk and tries to encourage him to start writing again, thinking that that will bring him back and he will be peppy and get out of her hair for good. So moving on, Chuck starts writing, and he feels good about what he wrote. And he asks Becky, hey, what do you think? So she tells him, it's great, it's wonderful, don't change it. And he's like, no, this is a rough draft, I want more information. Well, one of the things that I did like about Becky, even though I thought she was ever so slightly annoying before, in the past seasons, she basically sat down and ripped him a new one. She was basically saying, it's not very original. She's saying that there's really no danger. His writing was a little bit lackluster, blah, blah, blah. And so, unfortunately, that spiked a bit of a fire in Chuck, where he kind of felt like, you want danger? You want turmoil? Well, let me see what I can make happen here. And he sits back down very rudely, like a very rude guest, and won't leave, and starts writing it all over again with a very sneaky look on his face. Meanwhile, Sam and Dean are at the high school looking through some surveillance, and they see Susie's attack and a car that passes directly after. And after that car passes, they end up seeing a license plate, and they get some information. Now, my husband and I were like, the police would have had that information way before Sam and Dean, but you know what? Let's go ahead and overlook that. That's what we tend to always do. All right, it only matters that Sam and Dean are here to save the day, right? Who cares about everything else? All right, so they end up putting two and two together, and you find out that it is Billy, the boy, his father, Henry, and the mom, Nancy. They are sketchy as you-know-what. You see them at their house earlier. They're cooking dinner. The family dynamic is totally whack, and the dad is washing his hands with, a lot of blood. Sam and Dean end up arriving at their house, and Dean is ready for attack. He wants to go after Henry like nobody's business. Guess what? There's another cheerleader that's been missing. Her name is Tori, and she is in their house. And they are taking the blood from her body and basically draining her of her blood. Sam ends up finding her, willing to help her out. Hopefully it's not too late. And they find out that the vamp is Billy. The vamp is Billy. Now, at this point, the parents are making excuses for Billy, and they're basically saying that they would do anything for their son, even kill, murder, and maim people for their son. I just don't think that's normal. That's going a little bit too far. And I think what they were trying to do there is make the parallel between Sam and Dean, Jack, and this situation. Who knows? I'm hoping that we'll find that out later and that there is some sort of parallel. If there is not and they just drop the ball here, that'll make me a little bit sad. And then they end up taking Billy and they put him out of his misery and Billy agrees to it too. He knows that he's going to be a harm to society and he's ready to just, be done with it. And that's what they do. And it's very morbid, and I feel as though that is kind of like going down the Jack road. They were going to basically get rid of Jack also. So I'd like to see where this goes, like I said before. I do think that there was a bit of a hole in that part of the episode, and I want to see what you guys think too, because how did Billy become a vamp? I would have liked to get more information about that and to see that go down. I just didn't have that heartfelt moment for him. And I know that this was just an episode where they're killing a monster, but I just felt like something was missing there. There could have been something a little bit more. In wrapping up, we see God, aka Chuck, aka villain, not the coolest dude in town, not trying to make things better, totally manipulative, and he manipulated Becky. And here we go, he wrote his story, and boy, did the evil horns stick up out of his head. Not literally, but I did finally see Chuck look evil instead of a little wimpy butt that I feel like he has been in prior episodes. So he ultimately ends up taking out, by the snap of a finger, Becky's husband and children, and ultimately Becky. So I do like to see where they're going to go with this. God is 100% the villain. He's 100% evil. And you see Sam and Dean in the end driving in their car, and they're actually starting to communicate with each other. They're actually starting to talk. Finally, after all of these seasons, like they're really communicating with each other, and they're starting to open up. I like how Dean said that he felt that they should take one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, one step at a time, for the people that they love, and he named obviously Jack, Rowena, and all of the other people that they most recently lost. And I feel like a lot of us need to do that in life and not turn and look backwards. However, when you hear Sam's kind of saying, I see where you're coming from, but I'm not really okay with all of the things that have happened. It has affected me so much that when I wake up in the morning, I don't know how to comprehend some of this stuff. I don't know how to get rid of the junk and the ick. Dean was kind of indicating that he was beginning to feel free of Chuck, not feeling that Chuck is controlling them so much in their life. The sad part is they don't even know what's ahead of them. But, Sam was saying that he really didn't feel free, and he actually felt like he couldn't breathe sometimes. So I think that might tie in to the very beginning of the episode, because Dean is in a very different place than Sam. And it's so interesting to see what is going to happen to both of them. And now, what is Chuck going to do? So I do like how things ended, and I am looking forward to the next couple of episodes moving forward. This episode was much better. A few holes, a few gaps, but ultimately this was a good episode. What do you guys think? Well, in wrapping, I want to say thank you so much for watching and tuning in, you guys. Again, please let your friends know that we are here, and if you love Supernatural, we want to talk to you about it. So stay tuned, invite your friends, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Have a great one. Bye, guys.